everybody, this is Jennifer with northweststamper.com, and today I wanted to show you a few tips and tricks for basic stamping and how to make sure that you get a really solid image from your stamp to your paper. Now I decided to do this video because I've had a few people ask me, how do you get a really great image? They had their stamps, things like this, where you have kind of a solid image, or even where you have different lines, but you ink it up and you go to put it on your paper and you don't get all the ink on your paper, which is a complete bummer if you're in the middle of a project and you've glued everything together. You go to make that last stamp and it just doesn't hit for you. So what I want to talk about today were things that I've learned that has really made my stamping a lot better as I've gone along over the last few years. So hopefully one of these tips will be useful for you. Now the first thing I always tell people about is pay attention to your paper. See, there's lots of papers out there and they're going to give you different results. So what I'm going to show you today, we're going to do a little experiment. On the left hand side I have some white cardstock that I got a while back that was something that I got in bulk at a stationery or office supply store. And it's white cardstock. It's great for bases of cards, not great for stamping. They're not meant for stamping. And you may not realize it until you start using paper that is meant for stamping. Now this is Stampin' Up's Whisper White paper. This paper here is actually a semi-gloss, so if you could feel the two, you'd feel this is a little bit smoother. And what that gives you is this paper was designed so that when you stamp with your image, the paper will actually absorb your ink and really lock it in. So you're going to get a richer image and it's going to stay better. It's not going to smear like with a glossy paper, but it's going to hold and have that smooth, consistent look as opposed to what you'll see today with this paper. So that's one of the most important things that I like to tell people about. Then the two other things we're going to talk about today is how to get your stamp to ink up so that you get solid ink on your stamp, and then how to get that ink off onto your paper. So for purposes today, we're going to use this Button Buddies stamp set from Stampin' Up. I really like this flower. It's really cute and figure it'll be a good example for us. So I'm going to pull out my rich raspberry ink here. This is a dye-based ink, meaning that it's water-based, not oil, so that if you get it on your fingers it can wash off. But it also dries quickly and will still give you a really great image. Now, how do you go about getting ink on your stamp? I can tell you what I see a lot of times in classes and workshops when people come with and stamp with me for the first time is they either take their stamp and they go, which doesn't give them a solid image, which they don't realize until they stamp and get really bummed out, or they sit there and go, again, doesn't give you a solid image, especially if the ink pad has been used for a while and so it starts drying out in places. You start seeing those patches come through on here. So what I like to tell them to do, my technique, is to do twist, twist, tap, tap. So you take your stamp and you go twist, twist, and you go tap, tap. Now what that's doing is that's twisting it to sort of smear ink onto your rubber. But when you do that, you may find that you get heavier deposits depending on where the ink is on your ink pad. So maybe this has been used for a while, so it's drier in the middle, so you get heavier deposits of ink from the outside. So that's where the tapping comes in. So you go twist, twist, get it all inked up, and then you go tap, tap. And that just sort of makes sure that if there's extra deposits, they come off back onto your ink pad. So you're not making a mess anywhere, but you're getting a nice inked up version of your flower. So now we're going to go ahead and stamp, and so let's talk about how you get that ink from your stamp onto your paper. Now, the other thing that I see people do a lot, and I'm not going to show you because I have it nice and ink. Well, I'll show you. I really cringe a little when I see people go to stamp, and I'm going to do on my scratch paper here, and they go, what that does, here I'll move this so you can even see. It blurs your image really badly. Not pretty. So instead what I recommend doing, let's cover that up so it doesn't distract us, is to take your stamp, go twist, twist, tap, tap, make sure you got nice coverage, is I hold it with 2 fingers and on either side. So this gives me stability so that I am holding it very strongly. I can position where I want and how I want, and leaves 2 fingers available to push and give me that extra solid pressure in the middle of my image when I put it on the paper. So in this case, I go ahead and I stamp down. I've gone straight down. I can push, and I'm able to move my fingers in the middle to make sure that I'm doing an even pressure, and then move them back and lift straight up, and I have my image. Now, this isn't too bad. This was on the office supply paper. You still get some of these places that aren't nearly as solid as you'd like. So that's where we come into our nice Stampin' Up! Paper. So again, twist, twist, tap, tap. Make sure you got a nice solid image. And you do the same thing. Fingers on either side, hold down. And if this isn't comfortable for you, that's fine. Just keep in mind the most important thing is going straight down and getting that even pressure on your image. So you go straight down, push, make sure you get that nice solid pressure, and then go straight up, and an even more solid image. So as you can see now, I didn't get that splotchiness. I've gotten that really solid image. So even though this one looks great, holding them together, you can see that there's a difference. I've managed to get a more complete coverage. And if my ink pad had been a little bit more dried out, you might have seen some other examples. So I actually put ink on this recently, so some of my past examples, you could really see my office supply paper versus my Stampin' Up! Paper. So, goes to show paper can make a difference. So, I hope these tips have been helpful for you, and if you have any questions, send me an email or stop by my website, nwstamper.com. Have a great day. Thank you.